In August 1945, two atomic bombs erased two Japanese cities in 3 days. Tens of thousands died instantly. Many more suffered in ways the world still struggles to understand. No one was meant to survive an atomic blast. Yet, one man experienced both bombings, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and lived long enough to tell the world what he saw. His name was Tsutomu Yamaguchi, an engineer, a father, a survivor, and eventually the only person ever officially recognized by Japan as a double hibakusha, a survivor of both atomic bombings. This is his story. Yamaguchi was born in Nagasaki in 1916. By the 1945, he was working for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries as a design engineer. His job took him across Japan, and in early August, he was in Hiroshima on a temporary assignment with two colleagues. The work was done, and August 6th was supposed to be his final day in the city. He packed his bag that morning, planning to take the train back to Nagasaki and return to his wife and infant son. But shortly after 8 a.m., as he walked towards the shipyard, his life, and the course of history, changed forever. At 8:15 a.m., Yamaguchi saw a B-29 bomber overhead and noticed a small object dropping from it. Before he could process it, a flash of light, so bright he later compared it to lightning, filled his vision. He had been roughly 3 kilometers from the hypocenter. The explosion ruptured his eardrums, temporarily blinded him, and burned the left side of his upper body. When he regained consciousness, Hiroshima was unrecognizable. Buildings had collapsed, fires raged, a massive shockwave had torn through the city. Half blind, injured, and disoriented, Yamaguchi made his way to the remains of Mitsubishi office where he reunited with his colleagues. The next day, he began the journey home, through the landscape of destruction only a few people on Earth had ever witnessed. Trains were severely disrupted, but Yamaguchi eventually found one still operating. It was filled with survivors, many burned, many in shock, trying to flee the devastated city. He boarded the train and traveled overnight back to Nagasaki, carrying injuries from a weapon the world had never seen before. When he arrived home, his family could barely recognize him. On August 9th, despite his burns, damaged hearing, and exhaustion, Yamaguchi reported to the work at the Mitsubishi's Nagasaki office. When he told his supervisor that Hiroshima had been destroyed by a single bomb, the boss didn't believe him. Moments later, at 11:12 a.m., another blinding flash filled the room. The second atomic bomb, called Fat Man, had detonated over Nagasaki. Yamaguchi was again about 3 kilometers from the hypocenter. The blast blew him to the ground, destroyed the building around him, and stripped the bandages from his Hiroshima wounds. But he survived. Again. He rushed home, fearing that his wife and child were dead, but in a twist of fate, they had left the house earlier to find burn ointment for his injuries. That decision saved their lives. In the weeks that followed, Yamaguchi suffered from radiation sickness. His hair fell out, his wounds became infected, and he ran high fevers. But unlike so many others, he recovered. He eventually returned to work and later became a translator during the Allied occupation. For decades, he rarely spoke publicly about his experience. Like many hibakushas, he lived in a society where survivors often faced discrimination due to fears of radiation-related illnesses. In the 1950s and 60s, Yamaguchi continued working as an engineer. Later in life, especially after the death of his wife, he began speaking out against nuclear weapons. He published memoirs and poetry describing the bombings and their human cost. In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized him as a survivor of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the only person ever granted this status. He lived to the age of 93, passing away in 2010. His life became a symbol, not of luck, but of overwhelming destructive power humanity had unleashed upon itself. Tsutomu Yamaguchi lived through 2 atomic bombings and spent the rest of his life urging the world not to repeat what he had witnessed. His story is a reminder that behind every historical event, no matter how massive, there are human lives, human suffering, and human resilience.